the O-line. All right. I think we would all agree here, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong. One of the biggest needs going into this offseason, one of the biggest weaknesses is the same as it was going into last offseason, offensive line play. We all came out of that loss against the Philadelphia Eagles, got our asses kicked in the trenches, and it's like, man, we got to bolster this offensive line. We got to be able to play bully ball up front, right? So what did Goody do? He went out and spent a second-round pick on Anthony Belton, and he went out and paid pretty big money for Aaron Banks in free agency. Now, we'll talk about the details of that contract when we get to the left guard position. But let's start off with left tackle, all right? With left tackle. Now, there was some big news this morning. If you guys didn't hear, Rasheed Walker was arrested in New York, traveling with a firearm. We'll wait for all that to kind of play out before, obviously we know exactly how that may affect his free agency. He was set to be a free agent anyway. I think we all kind of agreed in unison here on this particular program that probably wouldn't be back in Green Bay at $20 million per year, which seems to be the market value for Sheeto. So, with all that being said, you can go back and watch that video. I'll make sure it's attached to the end of this one. If not, just scroll down and you'll be able to find it here on the YouTube channel. Just kind of the details surrounding that. But left tackle, I think we might have him in-house already. That does not mean, please, everybody, hear me clearly. That does not mean you don't continue to try to build that room. That does not mean if the perfect prospect falls to you in the second, third, even fourth round where you go, man, we've got a grade on this left tackle that's 2 rounds higher than the current round we're in. You may pull the trigger, go get that left tackle, and he may beat Jordan Morgan out, right? I see that highly unlikely that would be the approach because they seem to really like Jordan Morgan at left tackle. I do as well. Tim, we've kind of talked about this, man. You look at the PFF grades, offensive grade overall for Jordan Morgan, not great, 62.0. Pass block grade strong at a 68.8. Run blocking is where he struggled, but he played guard the majority of the year. You did see him improve from last year, 59.2 to a 62.0. But the thing that most people are missing here, if you focus on these bottom 4 grades down here where my cursor's at, right? He actually played tackle the last 4 games of the season, and you'll notice his grades. Forget everything else. Right tackle, 63.2. Right tackle, 79.7. Left tackle 61.4, right tackle 77.1. There can be a case made for him moving to right tackle and moving and having Zach Tom play left tackle. We know Zach Tom can play all over the offensive line. I wouldn't rule that out. But right now, I would feel comfortable as Coach Lynn, get out of my head, right? Tom to left tackle. I would feel more comfortable saying they probably have Jordan Morgan at left tackle. I like that, Tim, because that's his natural position. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. There was somebody the other day, I think Rob Demoski was on with Wildy and Tausch and them, and he was like, stop messing with Jordan Morgan. Let him play the position that he played his entire life. But, Tim, what's your early take on this, man, in terms of starting left tackle? Would you be okay with Jordan Morgan being there?
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about this since we drafted him, I mean, what can you do? I think, him being, at right guard or left guard on occasion, it's just an effort to get your first-round draft pick on the field, right. I think. You want this guy to get reps and get snaps. I think going into 2026 season, if he's in a position where he can kind of settle into that role, on the left side, I could totally see him growing into it. And, you hit it on the head here. You look at these last 4 games here, just based off of PFF, you can see the improvement already. He's clearly more comfortable at the tackle position, especially the left side. I think it's really telling to see the way that the blocking changed when he was on the left side of the line as opposed to the right side. So who knows? I think he's proven that he can play both, but I would rather see him as a tackle than an interior guy, I think, at the NFL level for sure.
Yeah, and when you look at those last 4 games where he played tackle, Jacob, essentially what you're going to have is him grading out on average in the 70s. I think is someone had put a tweet out where him at tackle, his grade was like a 72 PFF grade. That's strong. That's stout. That's better than Rasheed Walker. So the reality is you may be skipping out. You may be bypassing a $20 million cap hit on average for Rasheed Walker and having Jordan Morgan improve the left tackle position in terms of starters or in terms of the starting left tackle and drop down to what, $4 or $5 million per would be the cap hit for Jordan Morgan. What's your take on this, man? And I'll get to Mike Witt here in a second.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Jeffrey Schmidt is saying he's basically Emilio incarnate. We just have to have Travis Glover in there, and that's what we need. No, but in all seriousness, to Tim's point, I believe that what they did in this past year was just get this guy some playing time, get him on the field, get him up to speed with NFL, what it takes. And honestly, I don't think that they necessarily planned that, but it's like once the cards kind of got dealt the way they were and the musical chairs started being played and we had the injuries that happened, it was like, all right, let's just throw him into the fire, see what he can do. Obviously, we know what we had in Sheed. I think they were comfortable with that. But again, to Tim's point, it's like he's not a guy that needs to play guard. He's not a guy that needs to play on the right side. I think you look back at almost 100% of his snaps, even through high school and definitely through college, it was on the left side at left tackle. He knows how to protect. He knows how to pass protect. I really do think that once we kind of just get him back to doing what he's used to be doing, I mean, obviously, first round draft pick, there's no way that they're just going to give up on him, right? And just throw the baby out with the bathwater type thing. And I'm honestly interested to see if he can kind of reconcile his reputation, make him more respected in the NFL and more specifically, obviously, with the Packers fan base. And yeah, you look at that whole snap count right there. It's just guard, left guard, right guard, right guard, left guard. And then all of a sudden when he's in the tackle position, all of a sudden you see some numbers start to spike. All of a sudden you see like he's kind of getting himself together. You know, they always talk about, switching from right to left is wipe with your different hand. See how that works when you're on the toilet next time. All right. It's not as easy as people think it can, where you can just switch sides and be at the same playing level. To me, it's just unfair to ask a player to do that. And I do understand probably what they tried to do is just give this guy a chance to see, like I said, NFL speed, get him acclimated. But at this point going forward, he's a left tackle. Put him in that slot.
I mean, he played so much on the interior that PFF's got him listed as a guard, right?
Exactly.
Up there at the top, it's like we all know he's a tackle,
What do you guys quick think about our Aaron Rodgers talking about this is his, I would assume, his preferred lineup? Jordan Morgan, left tackle. Banks, he's still sticking with him, left guard. Linderbaum, a guy I remember listening to your podcast just the other day talking about him, which would be amazing. Belton, and then Tom.
Yeah, it's interesting. For me personally, I think I would rather us move on from Aaron Banks. If you do a post-June cut, you could free up, I think the number is $18 million. We'll get to that when we get to left guard. Linderbaum is definitely, he's my guy this year in free agency. We do it every year. The year before we talked about Xavier McKinney and loved him. Lo and behold, day one, we went out and got him, right? It was absolutely awesome. Last year, we were going Drew Dalman. Well, the Bears scooped him up, and you see how dominant their offensive line was this year in Ben Johnson's inaugural year there as the Bears head coach. Anthony Belton at right guard. Listen, you got to try to let him grow. Don't keep moving him around. Let him settle into right guard. Let's see if he can play right guard. And then, of course, Zach Tom can play anywhere on the offensive line for sure. So, for me, I'm not ready to just crown Anthony Belton, although him being a second-round pick. Goody will definitely put pressure on the coaching staff to make sure he gets playing time, I'm sure. But hopefully it ends up being a great fit there with Anthony Belton. How cool would that be if you've got your starting right guard for the next 3 years on a rookie contract and a second-round pick contract at that? Is a really nice look for sure. So in terms of backups right now at left tackle and what they've got listed on regular side, like I went and looked at a site, Our Lads, I think they have Brant Banks as the backup as well. Obviously, Rasheed Walker is set to be an unrestricted free agent. So the reason I point out the backup role there, there's still room to add people to this. You may go out and draft somebody. You may go out and get a left tackle, right? And if you do that and he doesn't crack the starting lineup, imagine this. Imagine if you move on from Brant Banks and Elton Jenkins. Elton Jenkins, you free up $20 million in cap space. Banks, if you do post-June 1, you're freeing up roughly $18 million. If you just cut him outright and get it off the books right away, you'd be freeing up $4 million. So you got potentially $38 million you could free up between two players. And then imagine you go out and draft a rookie player, a rookie offensive lineman, and you hit on that. All right, play him at left guard, and you're off and running, and you can reduce the cap hit moving forward. All of that kind of plays into the perfect scenario, in my opinion. So Rasheed Walker, again, last year, not great, 63.0. He was definitely a solid pass blocker, 69.3 pass blocking grade. But you'll notice that's not much different than our boy Jordan Morgan, right? So, again, I'm okay with moving forward with Jordan Morgan. And of course, the calculated market value before the incident today at LaGuardia, or yesterday, I should say, at LaGuardia Airport in New York with Rasheed Walker, it was $20.3 million. We'll see if that changes. The comments were kind of varying when we did the show earlier today. Some people are saying this is a big nothing burger. It won't affect the number. Other people are going, this guy just cost himself a lot of money. Only time will tell, right? Hopefully, for Rasheed's case, it doesn't completely screw him out of a great free agency here. In terms of statistical comparisons, we got all that in there as well. So that's kind of the left tackle breakdown as it sits right now. If you guys are watching this video back later, let us know in the comments, how do you feel about the left tackle position? Do you feel comfortable with Jordan Morgan? Do you think they should go and try to fill that void with free agency? There'll be, once we get through the entire offensive line in this series, we'll show you some of the top targets, the top free agents, the top draft picks. We're already putting prospect reports up in the Patreon group. You guys can find that at patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. And you can also get access to our draft board as it continues to evolve as well. But let us know in the comments, what do you think about the left tackle position? Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live in the future. All right, let me get back to these super chats real quick, then we'll move on to left guard. Mike Witt with the super. Thank you so much, buddy. He says, so if the Patriots win tomorrow, Leonard will be hired by Wednesday is my prediction. As far as the draft, everyone talking about cornerback, but I think our number one priority should be center. I agree with that, Mike. Not that corner shouldn't be a target, but number one target, if you don't button up the center position, the offense is going to continue to be inconsistent, especially if you have one or two injuries. Now, when we get to the center spot, if we have time today, Jacob Monk's got me my interest peaked a little bit. We'll talk about that here in a minute if we get around to it. Thank you for that super. And then Mike Witt with another super says, hot take, the way Rasheed played the last half of the season, Morgan should have gotten way more snaps at left tackle. Rasheed was downright bad the second half of the season, in my opinion, and nobody seems to talk about it. I agree, Mike. The penalties were the big thing for me, man. Thank you for the supers, Mike. We would get in a situation constantly where it was like, damn, there's a pre-snap penalty. Who was it? And it was always Sheed. It was like, son of a gun, man. Like, you're supposed to be the veteran. And that's the problem with having the youngest roster in the league, right? Yep. Like, that was our veteran, essentially, was Rasheed Walker at left tackle, former 7th-round pick. So at least in that spot, aside from Aaron Banks, who obviously we have mixed feelings on that. So there you go. Thank you for that super chat. Appreciate you, Mike. You're the man.